My name's pronounced Denzel.
Oh.
I'm Denzel Jr.
You think you know Denzel Washington? The man who's given us Malcolm X Training Day and Flight? The actor who seems untouchable, professional, always composed?
Here today as what I was when I was born, a black man.
But here's what Hollywood doesn't want you to know. Behind that Oscar-winning smile and those inspiring speeches,
Short 30-second video, and this is what
Denzel has been quietly building a list of actors he absolutely cannot stand. We're talking about 7 specific actors who have crossed lines, broken trust, and made enemies with one of the most respected men in Hollywood. And when I tell you who's at number 1, it's going to blow your mind, because the actor Denzel hates most isn't who you think it is. It's not some obvious rival or someone who badmouthed him in the press. It's someone who betrayed him personally. And the story behind it will change how you see Hollywood forever. I've spent weeks digging through industry insider reports, behind-the-scenes footage, and testimonies from crew members who witnessed these feuds firsthand. What I found was a side of Denzel Washington that the media has kept buried for decades. So buckle up, because we're about to pull back the velvet curtain on Hollywood's most guarded secrets. This is the countdown of the 7 actors Denzel Washington genuinely despises. And trust me, you're not ready for what's coming. Number 7. Russell Crowe. Let's start with number 7, Russell Crowe. Now you might be thinking, wait, didn't they work together in American Gangster? Exactly. And that's where the problem started. Picture this, 2007, the set of American Gangster. 2 powerhouse actors, both known for their intensity, both used to being the alpha on set. But according to multiple crew members who spoke anonymously to industry publications, these 2 clashed from day one. The tension wasn't about acting methods or creative differences, it was about respect. Crowe, fresh off his Gladiator success, allegedly walked onto set expecting to be treated like Hollywood royalty. But Denzel, he'd been earning respect in this industry since the 1980s. Here's what really happened. During a crucial scene where both actors were supposed to share equal screen time, Crowe reportedly tried to upstage Denzel by improvising lines that weren't in the script. Not collaborative improvisation, scene-stealing improvisation. A grip who worked on the film later told The Hollywood Reporter, "You could cut the tension with a knife." Denzel would finish a take, and Crowe would immediately suggest trying it differently, which was code for making it more about him. But here's where it gets interesting. Denzel didn't explode. He didn't throw a tantrum. He did something much more devastating. He went ice cold. From that point forward, every interaction between them was purely professional. No small talk, no camaraderie, just business. The final nail in the coffin? At the film's premiere, when asked about working with Crowe, Denzel's response was telling, "Russell's a committed actor." The pause before committed spoke volumes to anyone who knows how to read between the lines. But Russell Crowe is just the beginning, because the actor at number 6 did something that made Denzel question everything he thought he knew about loyalty in Hollywood. Number 6, Jamie Foxx. This one's going to surprise you. Jamie Foxx, the man who won an Oscar for Ray, who's been in the industry for decades, who you'd think would have nothing but respect for a legend like Denzel. You'd be wrong. The beef between Denzel and Jamie goes back to 2004, right around the time Jamie was getting serious Oscar buzz for Ray. But it wasn't professional jealousy that created this rift. It was something much more personal. Here's what happened. Jamie Foxx was doing interviews during his Oscar campaign, and he kept telling this story about how Denzel Washington discovered him and took him under his wing. The problem? It wasn't true. According to sources close to Denzel, they'd met maybe 3 times at industry events, exchanged pleasantries, but there was no mentorship, no special relationship. Jamie was essentially using Denzel's name to boost his own credibility during awards season. When word got back to Denzel about these interviews, his response was swift and brutal. He had his publicist reach out to Jamie's team with a simple message: "Stop using my name." But Jamie didn't stop. In fact, he doubled down. During his Golden Globes acceptance speech, he thanked Denzel Washington for believing in him from the beginning. The camera cut to Denzel in the audience, and if you know how to read facial expressions, you could see the exact moment his jaw tightened. The real kicker? After Jamie won the Oscar, he tried to approach Denzel at the after party. Witnesses say Denzel literally turned his back and walked away. in front of everyone. A veteran entertainment journalist who was there told me, "I've covered Hollywood for 30 years and I've never seen a snub that cold." It was like watching someone get erased from existence. Since then, these two have never worked together, never been photographed together, and when asked about each other in interviews, both give the most diplomatic non-answers you've ever heard. But if you think using someone's name for clout is bad, wait until you hear what the actor at number 5 did. Number 5, Will Smith. Now we're getting into the heavy hitters. Will Smith, the Fresh Prince, the box office king, the man who seemed to have it all until that infamous Oscar slap. But Denzel's issues with Will go back way before that night at the Academy Awards. The tension started in the late 1990s when both actors were being considered for the same high-profile roles. Hollywood loves to pit successful black actors against each other, and the media constantly compared their careers, their box office numbers, their crossover appeal. But the real problem wasn't competition, it was authenticity. According to industry insiders, Denzel always felt that Will was more concerned with being liked than being respected. While Denzel chose challenging roles that push boundaries, Malcolm X, He Got Game, The Hurricane, Will was making crowd pleasers like Independence Day and Men in Black. The breaking point came during a private conversation at a 2001 industry event. A witness who was close enough to overhear told Variety years later that Will approached Denzel and said something along the lines of, "We should work together. Show them what black excellence looks like." Denzel's response, "We already are." The implication was clear. Denzel felt he was already representing black excellence through his choice of roles and his commitment to his craft. He didn't need to team up with someone he saw as prioritizing commercial success over artistic integrity. But here's where it gets really messy. After that conversation, Will allegedly started telling people in the industry that Denzel was difficult to work with and took himself too seriously. When those comments got back to Denzel, any possibility of reconciliation died. The Oscar slap incident only confirmed what Denzel had always believed about Will, that when the pressure was on, when the cameras were rolling, Will would choose the dramatic gesture over dignity and self-control. And speaking of self-control, the actor at number 4 tested Denzel's patience in ways that still have Hollywood talking. Number 4, Mark Wahlberg. Mark Wahlberg, Marky Mark. The guy who went from underwear model to serious actor to... well, this is where things get complicated. The issue between Denzel and Mark isn't about talent or competition. It's about something much more fundamental: respect for the craft. This feud traces back to 2013 when both actors were being considered for the same action thriller. During the audition process, Mark allegedly made comments about how anyone can do this acting thing and how he was just as good as any of these method actors. Word got back to Denzel, who had spent decades honing his craft, studying at Fordham, training with Lloyd Richards, paying his dues in theatre. The idea that someone would dismiss the art form that had been his life's work, that was unforgivable. But the real incident happened at a private screening in Beverly Hills. Mark was holding court, telling stories about his various film experiences, when he made a joke about how Denzel probably practices his Oscar speeches in the mirror. The room went silent. Someone had crossed a line. Denzel, who was across the room, heard the comment. Instead of confronting Mark directly, he did something more devastating. He made sure Mark knew he'd heard it. He walked over, looked Mark directly in the eyes and said, "Congratulations on your career." In Hollywood speak, that's the equivalent of a death sentence. It was polite, it was professional, and it was absolutely brutal. Since then, Mark has tried multiple times to reach out through mutual friends and industry connections. But Denzel's position is clear. Respect is earned, not given, and once you lose it, it's gone forever. But if you think that's cold, wait until you hear about number 3. Because this actor didn't just disrespect Denzel, they tried to sabotage his career. Number 3, Jared Leto. Jared Leto, the method actor who never breaks character, the guy who sent dead rats to his Suicide Squad co-stars and stayed in character as the Joker for months. Denzel thinks he's a fraud. The animosity between these two goes back to 2016 when they were both attached to a biographical drama about a civil rights leader. Leto was set to play a supporting role, but his method acting approach immediately clashed with Denzel's more traditional, disciplined style. Here's what happened. Leto decided that to properly portray his character, he needed to live the experience 24/7. This meant showing up to meetings in character, refusing to respond to his real name, and generally making everyone's life more difficult in the name of art. Denzel, who had actually lived through the civil rights era and had personal connections to many of the people they were portraying, found this approach deeply offensive. A producer who worked on the project told The Hollywood Reporter, "Denzel pulled me aside and said, 'This isn't method acting. This is disrespect wrapped in pretension.'" But the real breaking point came when Leto, still in character, tried to educate Denzel about the historical period they were depicting. Imagine having the audacity to lecture Denzel Washington, a man who had portrayed Malcolm X, coached by Malcolm's widow herself, about black history. Denzel's response was swift and final. He had his agent call the producers and delivered an ultimatum. Either he goes or I go. Leto was off the project within 48 hours, but here's the kicker. Leto then went to the trade publications and suggested that Denzel was threatened by his commitment to the craft. The article painted Denzel as an aging actor who couldn't handle working with the new generation of serious performers. Big mistake. Within a week, 3 other A-list actors had pulled out of projects with Leto. Word had spread through Hollywood's tight-knit community. Cross Denzel Washington, and you'll find yourself on the outside looking in. But even that betrayal pales in comparison to what the actor at number 2 did. Because this person didn't just attack Denzel professionally, they went after his family. Number 2, Sean Penn. Sean Penn, 2-time Oscar winner, political activist. And according to multiple sources, the actor Denzel Washington despises most in Hollywood. Well, almost the most. Because there's still number 1 coming. The feud between Denzel and Sean Penn is legendary in Hollywood circles, but the details have been kept under wraps for decades, until now. It started in 2003 during the filming of a political thriller that never got made. Both actors were attached to star, and both had very different visions for how the story should be told. Sean Penn, known for his political activism and outspoken views, wanted to use the film as a platform for his personal beliefs. Denzel, while equally passionate about social issues, believed the story should speak for itself without heavy-handed political messaging. The creative differences escalated into personal attacks. According to a script supervisor who was present during several heated exchanges, Penn questioned Denzel's commitment to the cause and suggested that his success had made him comfortable with the status quo. That was the wrong thing to say to Denzel Washington, but Penn didn't stop there. In a move that crossed every line in Hollywood, he allegedly made disparaging comments about Denzel's wife, Pauletta, suggesting that she was holding him back from taking more politically relevant roles. The moment those words left Penn's mouth, the room went dead silent. Denzel, according to witnesses, stood up slowly, looked Penn in the eyes and said, "You just ended your career with me." He walked off the set and never came back. The project died that day, but Penn's vindictive streak wasn't finished. Over the next several months, he allegedly used his connections in the industry to spread rumors about Denzel being difficult to work with and past his prime. Denzel's response was masterful. Instead of engaging in a public war of words, he let his work speak for itself. Over the next 5 years, he delivered some of the most powerful performances of his career: Flight, Fences, The Equalizer, while Penn's career began a slow decline. The final nail in the coffin came at the 2017 Academy Awards. Penn was presenting an award, and when the camera panned across the audience, it briefly showed Denzel. His expression said everything: complete and utter disdain. But as much as Denzel despises Sean Penn, there's one actor who committed an act so unforgivable, so personally devastating, that it tops even this. The actor at number 1 didn't just betray Denzel professionally or personally, they betrayed everything he stands for. Number 1, Kevin Spacey. Kevin Spacey, the name that makes Hollywood go silent. The actor whose career imploded in spectacular fashion, and the person Denzel Washington saw through years before the rest of the world caught on. This isn't just about the scandals that destroyed Spacey's career in 2017. This goes back much further, to a time when Kevin Spacey was still considered one of Hollywood's most respected actors. Denzel's hatred for Spacey is rooted in something much deeper than professional rivalry or personal slights. It's about character. It's about the kind of man you are when no one is watching. The story begins in 2004 during the filming of a drama where both actors had supporting roles. On the surface, everything seemed professional, but according to multiple crew members who have since spoken out, Spacey's behavior on set was deeply troubling. A makeup artist who worked on the film told me, Denzel saw things. He noticed how Kevin interacted with the younger male crew members, how he used his power and influence. Denzel tried to warn people, but nobody wanted to hear it. Kevin was too powerful, too connected. But the breaking point came during the film's wrap party. Spacey, emboldened by alcohol and his own sense of untouchability, allegedly made inappropriate advances toward a young production assistant in front of Denzel. What happened next has become legend in Hollywood circles. Denzel didn't cause a scene. He didn't make a public spectacle. Instead, he quietly approached the young man, made sure he was okay, and then had a private conversation with Spacey that witnesses describe as terrifying in its intensity. A producer who was nearby told Variety years later, "I couldn't hear what Denzel said, but I could see Kevin's face. He went white, absolutely white. Whatever Denzel told him, it shook him to his core." From that moment forward, Denzel made it his mission to protect people from Kevin Spacey. He quietly warned other actors, used his influence to keep Spacey away from projects involving young performers, and made sure that anyone who would listen knew what kind of man they were dealing with. But here's the most chilling part. When the Spacey scandals finally broke in 2017, Denzel wasn't surprised. He was relieved. In a rare moment of public comment about the situation, Denzel told a reporter, "Some secrets are too heavy to carry alone. I'm glad the truth finally came out." The implication was clear. Denzel had been carrying the weight of what he knew about Kevin Spacey for over a decade, trying to protect people while watching a predator continue to operate in plain sight. This is why Kevin Spacey tops Denzel's list. It's not about professional jealousy or personal slights. It's about a fundamental difference in character, about the responsibility that comes with power and influence, and about protecting the vulnerable from those who would exploit them. So there you have it. The 7 actors that Denzel Washington genuinely cannot stand. From Russell Crowe's ego-driven scene stealing to Kevin Spacey's predatory behavior that Denzel tried to expose years before the world knew the truth. But here's what makes this list so fascinating. It's not really about Hollywood drama. When you look at each of these feuds, they all come down to the same thing: character. Denzel Washington has spent 5 decades in this industry building a reputation based on professionalism, integrity, and respect for the craft. Every single actor on this list violated those principles in some way. They either disrespected the art form, betrayed personal trust, or, in Spacey's case, used their power to harm others. And that tells you everything you need to know about who Denzel Washington really is. He's not just an actor who happens to be talented. He's a man who stands for something, even when it costs him professionally. Think about it. How many potential collaborations did he walk away from? How many lucrative projects did he turn down because he refused to work with people who didn't meet his standards? In an industry where money talks louder than morals, Denzel chose principle over profit every single time. The Russell Crowe situation could have been smoothed over with a simple conversation. The Jamie Foxx issue could have been resolved with a publicist's phone call. But Denzel understood something that Hollywood often forgets. Some lines once crossed can never be uncrossed. And maybe that's why he's still here, still respected, still creating powerful work at 69 years old, while several of the actors on this list have seen their careers crumble or stagnate. But here's the real question. In an industry built on relationships and networking, can you afford to have enemies? Or is having the right enemies actually a sign that you're doing something right? Because when you look at Denzel's career, the roles he's chosen, the stands he's taken, the people he's refused to work with, it becomes clear that his enemies list isn't really about hatred at all. It's about standards, and in Hollywood, having standards can be the most radical act of all. The next time you see Denzel Washington on screen, remember this: you're not just watching one of the greatest actors of all time. You're watching a man who chose integrity over convenience, principle over profit, and character over career advancement. That's the real story behind these feuds. It's not about ego or jealousy or professional rivalry. It's about a man who decided, very early in his career, what kind of person he wanted to be. and then spent the next 5 decades refusing to compromise on that vision, no matter who it pissed off. And honestly, that might be the most inspiring thing about Denzel Washington. Not his Oscar wins, not his box office success, not even his incredible performances. It's the fact that in an industry that can corrupt even the most well-intentioned people, he found a way to stay true to himself. So, the next time someone tells you that you need to play the game or make compromises to succeed, remember Denzel Washington's enemies list. Remember that sometimes the people who hate you say more about your character than the people who love you. We are committed to releasing 2 videos a week. Like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more film lore.